Hello, welcome back to our part two of our volunteer pre-match training. This one is specific to our Lunch Buddy Bigs and those entering into that program. So this one is all about the relationships. First, we're going to talk about your match relationship and the different match participants that are involved. So for our Lunch Buddy Bigs, the participants are the little, the big, your match support specialist, school staff, guardians, and other Big Brothers Big Sisters agency staff. I do have guardians listed here down on the fifth option because they are less involved in our Lunch Buddy program. You usually will do the majority of your communication with the school and with parents. We do heavily encourage, once you're matched, for you to call the parent, send a quick message, introduce yourself, and let them know who you are. We will be sending information about you to the family once the match has been made, but it'll be good for them to be able to hear from you firsthand. So then if you do check in with your little over holiday breaks or over the summer break, they know who you are and have had some communication with you prior to doing so. The match support specialist is going to be your go-to person throughout the entirety of your match. Throughout the first year of your match, they will be in contact with you either every month or every 60 days for mandatory match support contacts. So this means that they need to communicate with you over the phone, via text, or an email, or they might touch base with you in person while you're visiting your little at the school. They will be checking in on how your relationship is growing. They'll ask about some child development questions about your little, some child safety questions, and you'll just be able to bounce ideas off with them, ask for their support with anything that's coming up. They can provide you some ideas of stuff to do with your little while at the school with them. They will also inform you of when surveys are ready to be completed. We do something called a strength of relationship survey at the 3-month mark, and then annually after that. And they'll follow up if we do see any areas that you've expressed you would like growth in. Please make sure you keep this person up to date with what's going on in your life, any stressors or life changes that are coming up. And we also love when you utilize this person to celebrate your match and the fun things that are going on with you and your little, or your little in general, and to share photos that you guys may take together while hanging out over that lunchtime. The Lunch Buddy partner school staff are essential to helping us make sure that our Lunch Buddy matches are doing well. So please get to know your little's teacher. They'll be your primary person that you reach out to for scheduling. So typically we encourage you to have a set schedule. So maybe you hang out with your little every other Tuesday, or the 15th and the 30th of every month. Whatever works best for you, and communicate that with their teacher and let them know if anything changes. So if you have a work conflict, the Tuesday that you're supposed to be hanging out with your little, please let them know that, hey, I won't be able to make it at this date. I'm going to be doing this date instead. When you have your routine figured out, the day of your visit, we ask that you call the school and confirm attendance of the little. And then when you come in, they'll have you sign in, and then you'll be able to go hang out with your little. We do ask that you focus on the one-to-one relationship. There will be times in your little might ask if they can bring a friend with them to hang out with you, or to have you come outside for recess and hang out with all of their friends. On occasion, that's okay, but we do want you to focus on the one-to-one. So it's perfectly fine for you to say, no, hey, I think we're going to hang out just you and me together today. Or maybe we can go out and play a round of basketball, but then we can come back in and spend more time just us together. And always talk to your match sport specialist if you're having any challenges communicating with school staff, or helping build up that relationship between you and the school. So once you are officially approved as a volunteer in our program, we'll then look at our littles waiting, and we'll give you a call once we find someone that seems to be like a good fit. So maybe you have similar interests, your preferences will and hobbies will match, your personalities we feel like will blend well together, and we'll present a little bit about that child. If you're comfortable moving forward, we will then schedule a match meeting. These take place at the child's school during their lunch and recess time. That's when you'll get to meet your little for the first time. We'll introduce introduce you to school staff while we're there. We'll review policies and responsibilities of the program with you and the little together. We'll also review our newsletter for the program, any school-specific information you need to know, and then we'll give you the youth outcome development plan. This is some very basic goals that you and your little can work on while you're spending time together. You will also be given who your match sports specialist is at this meeting. For the most part, we try to have your match sports specialist be the one that does the match meeting, but in case their schedule conflicts, it'll be someone else. For Lunch Buddy match activities, you're expected to meet with your little 2 times per month at their school during that lunch and recess time. These always take place at the school and no other location. During your match activities, you can do board games, card games, you can do arts and crafts, you can support them with their academics, you can read, you can play just fun creative games together. You're welcome to bring any of your own activities that you want. For example, me and my lunch buddy recently did like window painting craft. And then this last time she asked if I could bring strings so we can make friendship bracelets. So it's always an option for you to do things outside of what we provide to you. There are activity totes at each school that has a bunch of board games and card games and some basic drawing and coloring books and stuff. So if you want anything else, feel free to let us know and we could see if we could provide that to you as well. So there are some roles that we ask you to play as a mentor and then some roles that you should not be playing as a mentor. First, you are a trusted adult friend. So this means with all your interactions with your little, you are demonstrating that you are someone that they can trust, that their safety is one of your top priorities, and that you're going to be a consistent person in their life. Next, just being a positive role model. So making positive choices and supporting the child to make positive choices as well. If the little is expressing that they're having some problems with their relationships at school or at home, you can talk through those with them and help them find a way to resolve them in a healthy way. If you make a mistake, please admit that mistake, apologize, and move forward. And then follow through with your commitments. So if you say you're going to be there every other Tuesday, do your best to stick to that schedule. Encourage the little to treat others the way they want to be treated with respect, compassion, and kindness. Be well-rounded and show you're open to doing new activities. And be confident in yourself and proud of who you are and encourage the little to do the same. Next, you're a defender of potential. You're there to nurture possibilities for them. So your role is to see the gifts and strengths of your little and help them grow and flourish in those. And encourage the little to try new things and help spark whatever interests they've expressed to help them develop and grow. And then there's some roles that we ask that you do not play. One is being a professional. So your main job is to be that trusted adult friend. You are not their counselor. You're not an expert. You're not a social worker. You're not a teacher. You're not a coach. You can support them in those areas, but your primary job is to be that adult friend. And then you are not their parent. So it is not your job to provide discipline. It's not your job to step into the line of being a parent. Remember, their parent is the expert of their child and how they should be raised. You can, of course, have expectations during your time together with your little. Make sure to consistently enforce those expectations. Some of our kiddos like to push boundaries a little bit, and that's normal, especially early in your relationship. So be firm with your expectations. So if you would like just you two always to do one-on-one in indoor activities, make sure they know that and then remind them of that if they're pushing outside of those boundaries. And then you're not a peer. So as a trusted adult friend, there's certain conversations you may have with your own friends that you should not be having with your little. So if you're having marital concerns or financial challenges, those are not things you should burden your little with. And then as a trusted adult friend, there's going to be times when you have to reinforce those expectations that we talked about. You are also not a financial supporter, so you should not be giving money to your little or to families if they need it. Your job is just to be there as an extra person in their lives to support them and help them grow. It's really important to go into this relationship with open eyes and to have modest expectations. Sometimes volunteers come in and they have a really specific idea of what they're hoping this experience will look like. But remember that kiddos have their own ideas as well. So oftentimes when youth come into our programs, they're told, hey, you get to hang out with someone super cool a couple times a month over your lunch and recess time, and just to have one-on-one time, be able to play games and stuff with them. That's how school staff pitch this program to them. So that's what they're thinking. They're not thinking that this person is going to give me advice. They're going to push me to do better, that they're going to make me study with them every single time we're together. They're thinking it's just going to be super fun. And also don't focus on changing your little. Help them embrace who they are and help them be proud of who they are. And then focus on building up that relationship, getting to know them, helping strengthen the bond that you have, and be patient. It's not very realistic that if your little has some challenges that you're going to see change quickly. It's also common that littles won't know what they want to do with you when you're there. So you might have to brainstorm some options for you to get together and spend time with. So, and it could be that they haven't played certain games, so you might need to try them or introduce them to something new and help them learn a new game or a new activity. Sometimes bigs come in and have an expectation that the kiddos we serve have really clear and high needs, and the ones that are in our program obviously need some additional supports of another adult in their life. Not all of our youth will look like they truly need an adult. Some, whenever they're together, they look like any happy-go-lucky kid, and that's perfectly fine. We accept all youth in our program, and all youth will have different needs and different expectations, and some may have extremely high needs for a mentor, but it may not look really clear when you're spending time together because they're just having fun and grateful that you're present. It's also unrealistic to expect that trust will come right away. So allow time for that child to trust you, get to know you, so then they can open up and feel more comfortable. Some are shy and it just takes them a little bit. So stick with it if you are feeling like your relationship hasn't grown as fast as you wished it did. And then remember that intentional mentoring happens after that relationship is built, after that fun has been established. Regardless if you do the 1-year commitment we ask for, or if you continue for a few years, or if you continue until that child is heading into middle school, all matches do eventually close. So what we want to make sure is that these closures are not going to be harmful to a child. So if you close prior to your 12-month commitment, that child will really be let down. They're going to be, since you said that you're going to be there for a year, we ask that you do fulfill that commitment. We never want to volunteer to ghost a child or to just stop altogether going to their visits. So if you know in advance that you will need to close your match, please talk to your match support specialist first. And then we will have you share that with the little and the little's teacher at school. We'll ask that you do one final visit with them to celebrate the relationship you've had and the fun that you've made together, and then have a final conversation with us. So reel us in and let us know that the match will be closing, or that you've done that final visit, you've talked to the little in the school, and that everything's done. All right, so now we're going to jump into healthy relationships. The first stage of understanding how to build a healthy relationship is getting a good grip about the ages and stages of general child development. So within your packet, there's a section about the 4 brackets of ages you see here. So for our Lunch Buddy kiddos, it's going to be the first 2, so the 5 to 7 and the 8 to 10. So if you don't have a lot of experience with youth in this age group, I encourage you to go back and review those on your own time. And so you can have a general sense of what relationships look like for kiddos of this age. And next, we're going to share a short video about how to build a healthy relationship with your little.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is committed to ensuring the relationship you have with your little is healthy and safe. Over time, we hope you will become a trusted adult in the life of your little, and your local agency is available each step of the way to provide support through this process. If you find over time that your relationship with your little isn't as healthy as you thought, you can always call your match support specialist for guidance. Let's walk through some of the values identified by Big Brothers Big Sisters that help build healthy relationships. It may seem obvious, but respect is pivotal in any healthy relationship. Be honest with your little and be clear in your communication. Really listen to your little. Consider their thoughts and feelings in your conversations. And before making decisions that impact your relationship, ask appropriate questions about the things they tell you. Show genuine interest in what's important to them and celebrate their accomplishments. In any relationship, disagreements are often inevitable. If disagreements arise between you and your little, use these times to demonstrate how important it is for each person to listen to the other's point of view, to acknowledge the difference of opinion, and work towards a solution that everyone can agree on without using hurtful language or violent behavior. We will discuss boundaries further in another video, but we want to emphasize the importance of boundaries in a healthy relationship. Boundaries are limits that we set that let others know what is okay and not okay to say and do to us. Everyone has a right to set emotional and physical boundaries for themselves. Say, for example, you're meeting your little for the first time and reach out your hand for a handshake, but your little stands there, arms folded behind them, and says hello. Your little may be demonstrating a physical boundary. They may prefer to say hello without physical contact, or they may be waiting until they know you better. Follow your little's lead. Boundaries may change as you and your little get to know each other. The important thing is that you respect your little's boundaries. If you're unsure of what your little's boundaries are, ask them and show that you understand them by honoring the boundaries they set. Also, share your boundaries with them and hold to them. You can find more information about what the role of a big is and is not in the video The Match Relationship. Your local agency also has clearly defined ground rules, policies, and procedures in place to assist you as a big and to assist your little and their family in navigating appropriate boundaries. Your match support specialist will be a helpful resource in helping you understand and apply these guidelines. The goal is always to keep all match participants safe and to support the development of a healthy relationship. You and your little may come from different cultural, social, or economic backgrounds, have different belief systems, sexual orientations, and interests. Regardless of your similarities or differences, to develop a healthy relationship, it's important to simply be yourself and provide a space for your little to do the same. Be open to your little's likes and dislikes and what makes them unique. Accept them for who they are without trying to change them. A big part of a healthy relationship is feeling safe from harm. This includes physical, emotional, and sexual harm. It is essential that your little feels safe in every aspect of the match relationship. You will notice that the remainder of this training will focus on how Big Brothers Big Sisters programs are structured to help keep the youth we serve, along with all the other match participants, safe from harm. We expect that your relationship with your little will be safe and healthy. If at any time you do not feel safe in your match relationship, or you suspect your little is not safe, please contact your match support specialist immediately.
So in the video, it talked a bit about boundaries. So I'm going to talk about the other forms of boundaries that someone may have. So they mentioned physical boundaries. So that involves your physical space and touch. So just keep in mind that everyone's different here. Some people are huge huggers and very comfortable with physical touch, and other people are not comfortable with any kind of touch. So again, lead by the youth's example. Next would be personal boundaries, a rule we use to let people know what's okay and not okay to say and do around us. And the next is an emotional boundary. This refers to someone's feelings and opinions and how they are expressed. It's really important to consider what boundaries you have prior to being matched and how you want to present that with your little. One boundary to consider would be whether or not you're comfortable spending any money for your little. So if you are going to do activities that are outside of what we provide in our activity tote, are you comfortable spending money on purchasing a craft to bring in with your little or something like that? So consider that prior to. Consider self-disclosure. So what are you comfortable sharing with your little, and what are you comfortable with your little sharing with you? Establish what you would do if your little were to share something that crossed your boundary or crossed your comfortability level, and how you would respond. Think about time and frequency. So we expect that you meet with your little 2 times a month. But if your little asks you to meet more than that and you're not comfortable meeting more than that, or it just doesn't work within your schedule, think about how you would respond to your little. It's perfectly okay to take time to think. So if your little has a request for you or asks a question, do not feel pressured to answer that right away. It's perfectly fine to sit on it, to say, hey, let me talk to Big Brothers Big Sisters first, or I'll let you know the next time we get together. You can always reach out to us for any advice that you may need. We do not encourage you to give many gifts to the child. You can, of course, do inexpensive things for holidays or for birthdays. But if you're wanting to do something around food, please talk to the school staff first to make sure that that's okay prior to giving any gifts to the child. When it comes to donations, we also ask that you do not give donations to the child. If there is a need that the child has, please reach out to us first and we could potentially support that need. There are a ton of resources within the school district, so we will connect with the school staff to see what they can do as well. And then working for pay, so you are not permitted to pay the child to do anything. So your expectation is just to have fun and to build relationships with the child over their lunch and recess hour. Okay, so I hope you feel a little bit better about building that healthy relationship and having clear boundaries. Next, we're going to talk about having safe relationships and the child safety policies we have in place to help you build that safe relationship. Child safety is our #1 priority at Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm going to say that one more time because it is a quiz question. So child safety is our #1 priority at Big Brothers Big Sisters. We professionally screen all of our volunteers, which you've seen, and we also provide safety information to all participants. So when we meet with the child initially, we give them safety packets to help them feel safe and understand what safety is in relationships. And we also provide that information to the school staff so they know what we do. We send it to the family when that match is made, and we review it with you all today. We establish and reinforce ground rules and policies throughout your match. And then we complete quality assurance reviews with our staff to make sure we're doing what we need to do to keep you guys safe as well. So the first safety policy we have in place is that you are approved, once you're approved in our program, you are only approved for the Lunch Buddy program. So please keep that in mind that you need to follow all of the Lunch Buddy policies and procedures. And then if you are wanting to eventually switch over to community-based and do activities outside of the school, we would do a formal transfer. So please let your match support specialist know if that is the case. Next is supervised visits. So as a Lunch Buddy volunteer, you are only approved to have supervised visits. So that means that you need to be doing it at the school setting. Or if you're wanting to do something outside of the school setting, the parents need to be present, or it needs to be at a Big Brothers Big Sisters sanctioned event. So that means our staff is there to provide the supervision. If that were to happen, the family has to provide transportation. You are not allowed to drive the child at all in your vehicle. There's, of course, no consumption of alcohol or illegal drugs prior or during to any match activity, and no smoking or tobacco use around the child. There are no weapons, firearms or ammunition is allowed to be entered into the school setting. And if you were to meet with the child outside of school with supervised visits, you also cannot have any of those on your person or in your vehicle for any reason. There is a note on here that says at home or in your safe. That is only for community-based, so please ignore that. Secret. So we ask that we have full communication across the board. So between the little, the Big Brothers Big Sisters agency, families, and the school, we want to be very transparent with everything going on. Children should never be asked to keep a secret by an adult. If you suspect that adults in the child's life are having them keep secrets, please know that's a huge red flag. So we ask that you investigate and ask some questions around that. Adults should never promise to keep a secret about reported abuse or when there's a risk of harm to the little or others. So we already talked about physical boundaries, but we at Big Brothers Big Sisters have some policies around do's and don'ts of physical touch. So verbal praise is always the way to go. Again, go by what your little is comfortable with. Handshakes, high fives, pats on the back, all perfectly fine as long as your little's comfortable. And then with hugs, we just ask that you get consent prior to doing so. But some kids love hugs. So when I met my little for the first time, she gave me a huge bear hug right away. If you are comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine to allow happen. But if you are not comfortable with hugs, you can tell them you're not a hugger and provide an alternative option. So if you're someone that wants to do a fist bump, if you want to make a new handshake just for you and your little to do, you can do that. So tickling, wrestling, pinching, patting, sitting on laps, those kinds of things might make sense in some of your own relationships, like with your own children or other family members, but they do not make sense in a mentoring relationship. So we ask that you do not engage in them. And if you're matched with a younger child, they may love sitting on laps of adults. This is when you can provide them some teaching moments like, hey, you don't need to sit on my lap. We're just here to hang out and have fun. You can also play it off as joke, like, hey, you're not 3. You don't need to sit on my lap. And you can just let them know to reinforce that boundary that that's not what you two do, because you two just have a positive, healthy relationship with strong, healthy boundaries. And for social media, you are allowed to utilize social media with parental consent. So please reach out to your little's family and see if they're comfortable whether or not you make a post about Big Brothers Big Sisters. And you can include, with parental consent, a photo of you and your little and maybe the child's last name, or your child's first name, but no other identifying information, because we, again, want to keep kiddos safe. We ask that you do not post on social media when you plan to go visit your little at the school or what school they attend, to keep their location safe as well. Please act as a role model on social media platforms. Parents will look you up to see who you are and what you're all about. If you don't feel like you have the most appropriate social media, I would encourage you to make those private so other people cannot view them. And then we ask that you don't engage in any other media consumption while spending time with your little. You only have 1 hour twice a month, so it shouldn't be spent watching movies or playing video games or playing games on your phone. And then if you are comfortable with us sharing the photos that you potentially share with us, we would love your permission to do so. And we have a media release for you to sign off whether or not you're comfortable. We also have an anti-bullying and non-discrimination policy at Big Brothers Big Sisters. We are committed to creating and maintaining an environment that's free from all forms of discrimination, harassment, and bullying for all participants. And that's part 2. So thank you so much for completing this portion of the training. Once you have completed the quiz, we will then send you another DocuSign of all of our policies we reviewed for you to sign off on those. So please reach out to your enrollment specialist for that piece if you have any questions. And the next video is Jedi Focus Mentorship. Thank you.